one name to the other. So
Right.
this is what El Nino and La Nina is. This is all it is.
Right.
It's a Peruvian fisherman's tale that goes back a few centuries.
Okay.
And it simply means shifting ocean currents. That's all. That the waters get warmer during one period, and of course El Nino meaning the baby, so it's during in November, December, around Christmas time.
Right.
Oh, that would be La Nina is the child baby. El Nino is the child. I don't know. They're both similar. I don't remember exactly which one is which.
Oh, right.
But it simply means shifting ocean
currents. Sure.
So I said, well, that's interesting. Well, what causes these ocean currents to shift? And so I went to NOAA. I'm learning about the oceans, but NOAA couldn't take me any further than that. They said, well, we're not exactly sure what causes these shifting currents. So I went to NASA. I said, NASA, is there any? Do you have any idea of what NOAA's doing with these shifting currents? Any correlation with some influence?
Out there or something, yeah.
And NOAA says, well, we do have these solar cycles, and it does appear that there's some correlation between solar cycles and these shifting ocean and jet stream currents.
Right.
So that's how the equation came to be, is that during times of high solar events, maximum solar events,
right,
that there's a definite correlation to extreme weather. And the correlation is that these charged particles, which hit the magnetic field warps around the Earth kind of like a cocoon.
Right.
When it does that, it actually has an effect on the ionosphere and the upper atmosphere. When that occurs, it shifts jet streams. When the jet stream shifts, the jet stream shifts ocean currents. And that's exactly what happens. When the ocean currents shift, that is the cause of extreme weather.
Mitch, I have to confess, I had you talk about an epiphany. I had this deep question. It just popped in my mind, and I don't know if you're ready for it, but are you ready for one of the deepest probing questions that you've ever been asked?
Well, with a setup like that, how could I, what am I going to say? All right.
Well, now I was just wondering. It might sound crazy, but it could happen. I'm thinking if you had, say, like 50 Bigfoots running around in a circle, could they create a tornado?
Say that again?
If you had about 50 Bigfoots running around in a circle, could that create a vortex and create a tornado?
You are kidding, aren't you?
That was my crazy. No, that was a question. I mean, I am a deep thinker. I think I go to levels.
Right. That is a question I never received before.
But you don't have to answer that on this program. But you can send me an email with the answer later, because I understand your time is valuable. But I'm sure some of our listeners would like to know the answer to that question. All right, back to serious stuff now. In your book, Solar Rain, you talk about ancient texts and the weather. Do you see these same patterns happening now that were back then, or do they talk about sunspots or solar flares, or do they talk our language in the ancient text, so to speak?
Yes, they do. They surely do. They talk about the dark spots on the sun, hence sunspots. I don't know if they call them sunspots or not, but they call them dark spots on the sun. And they knew when there were times of more dark spots on the sun that there were times of extreme weather events occurring on Earth. So yes, indeed, they did make that correlation, absolutely. And in the petroglyphs, this is stuff that we can see. Matter of fact, there's one just right down in New Mexico at Chaco Canyon. Okay. There's one of the petroglyphs that shows the a pulsar that had occurred, and it's very, very accurate. Matter of fact, the scientific community has accepted it as a timeline, that these people actually witnessed this event. Part of the Navajos witnessed this event, and so yes, they are actually telling the story, if not in text, things such as the Hopi Prophecy Rock. Right. You probably have heard of that. I have a picture of it in my book, Solar Rain. So yes, they certainly have passed these things down, and then of course with the instruments we have today, we can go back and see if the time correlates with the times that they put these out, and they do.
Okay. In the Mayan calendar, everybody knows it ends in 2012. Does it suggest, sort of, in the later years of civilizations, that there will be an escalating of Earth changes before the end, or whatever they prophesy comes on the other side of that?
Yes, they do. But not only do the Mayans and the Hopis, but every indigenous spiritual community does, including the Bible. They all talk about this time. That we're in, the Bible talks about Revelation. The Hopis talk about the fifth dimension, and the Mayans talk about the Mayan calendar 2012. They're all saying the same thing. The Dogon tribe out of Africa says the same thing.
Really?
The Essenes said the same thing. They're all saying the same thing. That I guess we're the lucky ones who, in this time, we will see this escalation, which will demand change. Now, the Navajo, the Hopi, tell us, actually the Mayans tell us as well, that we could have some influence on these events.
Really?
In other words, that we could actually, if we were to unite, as the oneness thing, that we could actually minimize the earth-changing events that are coming upon us.
Yeah.
I think that could happen, but only if we were to reach critical mass. And this is where I differ from Greg Braden's work, who's a dear friend. He's done some excellent stuff. I really like him.
Okay.
But he believes that if you had a group of people who prayed and meditate enough, that you could have this, you could change the world.
Yeah.
I don't believe that. I believe that it has to reach critical mass. In other words, there has to be a few more people that are praying for peace and harmony than there are that are wanting war and greed and so forth. So I don't think that 10% of people who are praying and meditating and wanting good outweighs 90 people or 90% who want to keep things the same.
Okay, so keeping things the same, but they are changing. So by extension, then, keeping things the same is to keep them on track for these earth changes. Is that right?
Well, almost. You see, the question comes up that, sometimes I'm asked, Mitch, why do you smile? Why do you seem? Why do you have such high energy when you're talking about these earth changes and what's coming up? And it's because I believe it to be the great equalizer. I don't think we're going to make it on our own as a world nation. I just don't see it. But these earth changes, these earthquakes, these volcanoes, these natural cyclical events that are escalating, I think will force us to be more dependent on our community and our neighbor. So yes, I guess the answer is that if people had the power, perhaps a majority, whether it be war or money or whatever it is, to keep status quo, they probably would. But when large events occur, my guess is half your audience, if not more, probably 2/3 of your audience, don't even know who their neighbors are. We've become so isolated, especially in America. But if an earthquake hits in your neighborhood, or a hurricane or tornado or whatever hits in your community, you will very quickly know your neighbors, and you will have a bond that most likely you'll never forget. So I'm suggesting this, that the earth changes are not coming to punish us; they're coming to help us. I think it's going to be what I call the equalizer, to help bring us together.
Okay.
And then maybe at that time we'll reach critical mass.
Okay.
And everything.
Earth changes that on the order of bringing us together, to me, suggest that there is a reasoning behind the earth changing. Is that right?
Well, I don't talk about my religious beliefs too often, but I'm a Catholic. I believe in God and our Creator. Native Americans, many indigenous are comfortable with Creator, whatever it is for you.